Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Let's get ready to rumble! Seattle's got to make a stop. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to throw it back to Goff! Who had that on the bingo card? Touchdown Lions!
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Yeah, it's a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. It's the main event. I'm your host, Main Event Mike. It's Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know what that means. Time to talk about football, specifically Detroit Lions football. We're not going to talk about the Detroit Tigers. Not at all. We are going to talk about the Detroit Lions and how they are in first place in the NFC North at 3-1 after a convincing victory over the Cleveland Browns, 34-10. But before we do that, we got to say thanks to everybody at the Huddle Sports Network for letting us broadcast in there. Also, Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, their Facebook page. Also, wherever you're watching, if you're watching on our page or on the rebroadcast, we thank you very much. Let's talk about it, though. Detroit 34, Cleveland Browns 10. That vaunted defense by Cleveland, we racked up 34 points on them. Joe Flacco, they got one touchdown. It looked dominating. We won every phase of the game. I want you to put it in the comments today and talk to me today, okay? Let's talk about this game. 34-10, Detroit beats the Browns. Take first place in the NFC North with a 3-1 record. You hear that, Packer fans? Sole possession of first place in the NFC North. So you can stop chirping. Yeah, you came out in the first game and you whacked us real good, and I gave you your flowers. I sure did. But now as we go to 3-1, all I see is a bunch of crying and excuses. Oh, you didn't play anybody, this or that. Ugh. Look, the home teams won, okay? This is the NFL. It's any given Sunday. Packers whooped the Lions. Browns beat the Packers. Lions beat the Browns. Happens every day in the NFL, every week in the NFL like that. But we did seem to win all three phases, but it wasn't a dominant win. I still felt like, even though it seems lopsided when you look at the scoreboard, if you watch the game, you know it was a close game. It was nip and tuck all the way. Just as the Lions were about to put their foot on the throat of the Browns, Goff throws an interception, or they come down and get in field goal range. So it wasn't, again, just like last week on this show, I said it wasn't a dominant performance by this Detroit Lions team. But you know what? We'll take it. Jared Goff was 16 of 27 for 168. I said bet the over on yardage. Sorry. 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He had a passer rating of 86.7. Usually when there are stats like that, when Jared Goff's stats are low, that's a good thing for the Lions. If he's throwing for 400 yards, that's not good for the Lions. That means he's trying to keep up with Josh Allen. It means he's trying to keep up with these high-powered offenses that are putting, the Rams, the Bucks, that are putting up 30, 40 points every week. When he's under 225 yards and his completion percentage is up over 70%, that always looks good for the Lions, it seems like. That means we're running the ball. It means we're doing what we want to do, what Dan Campbell wants to do, and that's control the clock and control the game, much like we did last week in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's a hell of a player, but he can't beat you from the bench. And that's what the Lions want to do. They want to control the ball with their awesome ground game, and they want to pick up third downs, third and shorts with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then take a shot over the top while you're sleeping. That's the game plan. And if Jared Goff is having 40 to 50 pass attempts and he's up near 350, 400 yards, something is wrong. Just know that. So 16 of 27 for 168, 2 tutties, and an interception with an 86.7 passer rating. Still my quarterback. Still a great gutty win by this team, and Goff was right there leading the charge. On the other side, old man Flacco took a big shot of Ensure before he went in the game, and he went 16 of 34. Oof! Well below 50% completion. He had 184 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. A passer rating of 39.3. Lions bottled up just about everything the Browns did in the passing game. But a bright spot for the Browns, their rookie running back, Quinshon Judkins, 21 of 82. He had 82 yards on 21 carries. That's a 3.9 yard per carry average, and he did have a touchdown. But 21 carries is a lot of carries, and still didn't break 100 yards. Lions giving you some, but not. They were bending but not breaking, and that was evident too by the red zone. They only allowed the Browns to get into the red zone one time. The Browns were 1 for 2 in the red zone, while the Lions perfect 3 for 3 in the red zone. So, like most games, it hinged on turnovers. Lions with 1 turnover, an ill-advised interception by Jared Goff, but then 3 turnovers, 2 picks by Flacco, and a fumble recovery by the defense. 3 turnovers that really slammed the door. Also, a huge play in the third quarter. Browns march down and get in field goal range. Lions stop them on third down, make them force a field goal. It's a 56-yarder, and Zmitt missed it for 56 yards. That was a huge play. That was just like a turnover. Lions took back over with good field position and went down and punched it in and started to slam the door at that point. So, great game. Feels great to be 3-1. We've looked at this schedule all year, as when we started broadcasting in the preseason. This schedule came out in May, and we were looking at it back then, and we all determined from the comments and from my very small brain that the first 7 weeks of this schedule was going to be crucial. The bye coming in week 8, and the back half of this schedule is much lighter than the front half of the schedule. And we all deduced, and even by the comments, that if the Lions through the first 7 games were even 3-4, they would be in good shape to make the playoffs. Everybody anticipating a step back by this team for losing the coordinators, most importantly, losing Frank Ragnow on that offensive line, Kevin Zeitler, a Pro Bowl guard, a big hole in the offensive line being filled by rookies. That's a big question mark. So a lot of people were questioning what the Lions would look like 4 games in. Look, guys, 1-3 was on the table for these first 4 games, and we came out 3-1. Next week, we get Cincinnati with no Joe Burrow. We're going to talk about that at the end of this program. Then we got to go to Arrowhead and play the Chiefs, back home and play the Bucs. So you're looking at the next 3 games before the bye: Bengals, Chiefs, and Bucs. Now, it's not a stretch to say the Lions could lose any of those games. I know Jake Browning and the Bengals got blown out by the Vikings last week, 48-10. But Jake Browning can put up points in this league. He's already proved it. And now with a week of practice, get that out of their system. They're going to be home for the Lions game. They're going to play the Lions very, very tough. Of course, I still think the Lions win the game. Right now, the Lions are favored by 8.5 over the Bengals. I said we were going to talk about it at the end of the program, but here I am talking about it. But my point is, we could lose any of these games. If we were to go 1-2 in these 3 games, we would be 4-3 going into the bye. But in my opinion, we're still in the driver's seat because there are so winnable games. I fully expect Aaron Rodgers to be done before week 16. He's like the dishes, man. He's washed. I don't think he's going to make it to week 16. And if he does, he's certainly not going to like coming into Ford Field. I promise you that. So, of course, Thanksgiving against Green Bay. After the way they kicked our ass in week 1, I fully expect the Lions to win that game. This team, Dan Campbell and this team, they've already proven that they hold grudges and they keep receipts. Just ask Baltimore last week. As we predicted on this show, Lions would get redemption. They were the last monkey on Dan Campbell's back, the last receipt they needed to cash in before they make a Super Bowl run, and that was beat the Baltimore Ravens, especially in Baltimore. Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks. That's what's on deck for the Lions. And there you go. Quinshon Judkins was the bright spot. Boy, I like this kid. I thought the kid ran hard. He always fell forward. He seemed to make something out of nothing. Yeah, he flew under my radar. And of course, I knew about him at that university in Columbus, but I didn't think he would have an impact like that right out of the gate. He got 94 yards against a tough Packers defense. He gets 82 yards against a tough Lions run defense. For a rook in his first 2 games, it's pretty impressive. They might have something here with this kid. Sorry if you drafted Jerome Ford in your fantasy team. This kid, I believe, is going to be the full-time starter in Cleveland for quite some time. He looked pretty damn good. The Browns, though, 3 for 14 on third down. The Lions just had an answer. The linebacker play was outstanding. Derek Barnes, second in the team in tackles. Jack Campbell led the team in tackles with 11 tackles. The linebacker play was outstanding. The defensive line play was outstanding. We were in Joe Flacco's face all night. 3 sacks by the Lions, 0 by the Browns. Yeah, that tough-ass defense, 0 sacks on the Lions. That's 2 weeks in a row this offensive line has not allowed a sack. They looked so bad in week 1. We expected that they would bounce back, or that they would gel, that they would mature, these young guys would start to get it. Happened a lot quicker than we thought. In the game yesterday, those young guys, Tate Ratledge, Christian Mahogany, were moving people. Moving them. And Tate Ratledge getting out ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs, springing him for a big run. These kids are getting it done. They are picking it up quick. It's a testament to Hank Fraley and what a great coach he is on the offensive line. Jack Campbell was a beast. And, of course, Myles Garrett is a beast. But he wasn't yesterday. We double-teamed him. We triple-teamed him. He's the most double-teamed player in the NFL, even more than Aiden Hutchinson. He had 2 tackles and 2 QB hits. That's a pretty quiet day for Myles Garrett. Kept him in check. Every team doubles and triple teams. I mean, he still produces. So kudos to the Lions, offensive line, and the backs. They did a great job of chipping him every time he would come. When they would let him run free, the play was designed to go away from him. And so all day they were frustrating. They would line him up everywhere, and Goff was able to check out of it and run away from him and just frustrate him all day. That's how you put a good player like that in check. We play Cincinnati next week, but Cincinnati actually plays tonight in Denver on Monday Night Football, part of a doubleheader. But next week, the Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to be on a short week, have to play the Lions, but they'll be at home. That's a 4:25 kickoff Eastern time next week, folks. That game is supposed to be on Fox. Detroit at the Bengals, minus 8.5. Lions at 8.5-point favorite on the road. Last week, they lost to the Vikings 48-10. They only produced 171 total yards and had 5 turnovers. So you can bet they're going to be better than that next week. But hey, we can't really even look at the tail of the tape because they don't play again until, they play tonight. So we will see. It will be interesting to see if Jake Browning bounces back from that terrible performance in Minnesota. He's got a tough one up in Mile High, though, against Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, who have underachieved so far 4 games through the season. Not where they expected to be or where most people expected them to be. That's going to be a good game. And then you've also got Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets against the Miami Dolphins tonight as well on Monday Night Football. DJ Reed was injured in the game. It was a hamstring injury. The report right now is that it does not require surgery, but it looks like he is going to be heading to the IR, injured reserve list, and where he will spend a minimum of 4 weeks on the IR list. they will evaluate him 3 weeks in and see if they're going to move him to extended IR. So good news. Yes, no surgery, not season ending, but definitely a hammy. What an interception by DJ Reed. Just phenomenal. I know you've seen it. Put it in the comments. Tell me what you thought of that interception. Laid out over the receiver. Got his hands under. For the life of me, I can't understand how his feet were touching the receiver and he's not down by contact. I thought the refs were terrible yesterday. Not just against us, but for us, they were terrible also. Cleveland fans have a right to complain, I would think, about the officiating yesterday. And Lions fans as well. It was bad. There were only 6 penalties on both teams, but they came in a flurry in the first half. And some of them were bad. And then in the second half, the same stuff, they just weren't calling it in the second half like they did in the first half. We say it a lot on this program. The fans want consistency, NFL. I know you're not listening to me. If so, you're going to have to pay me to put your logo on my screen. Yeah, it's not going to happen, I know. Aiden Hutchinson, though, rounding back into form. He had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 4 tackles total. Also a strip sack that was a gorgeous strip of Joe Flacco. They got called back on a penalty. It didn't count. But Hutch was the better defensive end on the field yesterday. He might not be better than Myles Garrett in the big picture, but he was better yesterday. And there's nobody else I'd rather have than Aiden Hutchinson on the end for the Detroit Lions. And I know you feel the same way, so put it in the comments. Tell me all about it. Let's see who's in here. We got Davey. Davey says, good evening, One Pride. Go Lions. Detroit fan man. Shout out Cornelius Lucas. 2014 undrafted free agent offensive tackle under Jimmy Two Watches Caldwell's first year. Yeah, he got worked all day, but just impressive. He still has a career going. No kidding. 11 years later, in Jim Caldwell's first year, Cornelius Lucas. I didn't even notice that. So, fan man, that's why you're one of the best. You're definitely top tier. Put in the comments. I want to know what you think. So this year, we've already beaten the Browns and we've beaten the Ravens. You guys see a pattern here? 2-0 so far against the AFC North. Next week, we get the Bengals. After that, we'll get the Steelers in week 16. We could potentially run the table on that entire division. We're 2-0 so far. If you remember, in 2023, we ran the table 4-0 on the NFC South, and we ran the table on the AFC West 4-0. Then last year, we run the table on the AFC South and the NFC West. That's 4 divisions. The Lions swept them, baby. Swept them, the entire division, including the AFC West with a week 1 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. That's how it's done. To sweep this division, if we sweep the AFC North this year, if we beat the Bengals and the Steelers, that will be the only time in NFL history that a team has swept an entire division 3 years in a row. But the caveat to that is we did 2 divisions the first 2 years. But this will be the first time they've swept the division in 3 consecutive years in NFL history. This is a record, folks, that may never be broken. You're talking about 5 divisions in less than 3 years, in a 3-year span. And if you count the NFC North last year, that's 6 divisions. A sweep. Unheard of. Records are meant to be broken, but that's one that could stand a very long time. Love this team. We didn't count them out in week 1. I was worried. I don't know about you, but I was a little scared. We're a little worried. Like, ugh. Maybe these offensive line problems are worse than we thought. Oof. Maybe not having the play caller and the center is going to change things. Well, they're getting it back together, and John Morton had a great game he called yesterday. Great game. I think it was fourth quarter we were looking at. They showed a stat. They were at 50 play mark. It was 25 runs and 25 passes. That's a balanced attack. That's running the ball. They only put up 277 total yards, but they had over 100 rushing yards the first time that the Cleveland Browns have given up 100 yards on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 carries, 91 yards and a tutty. He had a 6.1 yard per carry average. Pretty good. Montgomery, on the other hand, bottled up less than a 2-yard average. This defensive front, Mason Graham, Collins, and Myles Garrett. Mason Graham, the rookie from Michigan, dude is huge. I didn't realize how big he was. And they are Malik Collins on the defensive line. Very hard to run on. But Gibbs was able to find some work on the outside. And there was nothing up the middle. But they were able to attack the corners. And they got a little creative in the run game. I seen a couple of pulls, a couple of little zone blocking schemes. They were mixing it up. I was really impressed with the game plan yesterday. Not everything worked. They're getting the kinks worked out. But I was seeing some things yesterday for the Detroit Lions that I have never seen before. John Morton is not Ben Johnson. Did you see them specifically game planning for Jameson Williams? Like forcing him the ball. Get running plays designed for him. Goff's not looking anywhere else. That plays for JMO. And then they even tried to force into the end zone to get him the ball. I love that, though. You know you've got a weapon, use him. I felt like Ben Johnson went to the well too many times with the safe plays, the Laportas and the Amon-Ra's. He didn't take enough shots with JMO and do anything creative to get him the ball. I guess he did, but I guess let me rephrase. I'm glad to see John Morton also showing an interest in getting him the ball and not forgetting about him. We'll just leave it at that. But as Dan Campbell always says, this game is played in 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. The Lions did dominate the special teams yesterday, and that was good to see. Khalif Raymond with a huge touchdown. On punt return yards, he had 5 punt returns for 76 yards and a tutty. That's game-changing stuff, buddy. You're flipping the field. You're getting field position, 76 yards total in return yards and a touchdown. That's huge. If he has one more game like that, I believe Khalif Raymond will get his 3rd Pro Bowl nod. 2nd team, whatever. Also, Jacob Sailors, the backup running back, on special teams, he had 2 kick returns for 51 yards. He looks great. I'd love to see him try to get a little more explosive. He's got better speed than what it looks like we're looking. Once he gets to the 30, he puts his head down and just gets as far as he can go. I'd like to see him try, but man, kid had a great game. 2 kick returns, 51 yards. He also had the key block on the punt return by Khalif Raymond. He's the man that sprung that touchdown. Great play by the Rook. An undrafted free agent. I mean, he's pressing Craig Reynolds, I would think, with his play. On garbage time, he gets a couple of carries. He averages 5.5 yards for those carries. He had one real nice 9-yard run. I mean, they love Craig. We all love Craig. We all love Netflix. But Jacob Sailors has carved out a name for himself on this team and a spot on this team, I believe. And it was great to see yesterday. See him contributing the way he did. So I gave you an update on the DJ Reed injury. The Terrion Arnold injury, they say, is a shoulder, but I can't get anything official. All I can get is, Dan Campbell at his presser. He should be fine. Again, we got one reporter who said they saw him walking around the locker room after the game, seemed fine. Well, it was odd that he got pulled out of the game when he did. The game was still in the balance. And he didn't come back in. Amik Robertson played very well. Khalil Dorsey. These guys stepped up. By the time there was just 2 or 3 minutes left in the game, the Browns had given up. 4 minutes. The announcers even called it out. Seems like they packed in the towel. At that time, they were down 17. It was before the Lions got their last touchdown. It didn't look like the Browns were really trying that hard anymore. They were down by 17 with 3 or 4 minutes left. It was over for them. I'm glad my team doesn't have that. My team will continue to play. We'll go for it on 4th down to keep going. Emily's in the chat. Emily says, hi, Mike. Go Lions. Hi, Emily. Great Lions victory for you yesterday. I know you probably had some pumpkin spice, really frou-frou coffee in your hand. Your memes are totally on point these days, though. So let's talk about that. Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed. Doesn't look like we're going to have DJ Reed next week against Jamar Chase, against T. Higgins. This is the worst nightmare of what we saw coming. Even if DJ Reed was there, he and Amik Robertson, neither one over 5'9". Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, 2 of the best receivers in the league. I think undoubtedly the best duo in the league. There's a couple that might have an argument, but I think it's the consensus that Chase and T. Higgins are the best 1-2 wide receiver combo in the NFL. I wouldn't trade either one of them for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but as a tandem, they're very dangerous. Mike Gesicki is the tight end, and they have a pretty slippery back there in Chase Brown. So they've got some weapons, and don't think Jake Browning can't beat you, because he can. Didn't he put up 400 and some yards against the Lions already once in his career? Nothing like some pumpkin spice and a Lions victory. Amen, Emily. Was a great weekend. There was no Michigan game. The weather was beautiful here in Southeast Michigan. I had some really good times this weekend. Had a retirement party for a friend of mine. All my old friends. Was great. Had a great gig on Friday night for Koala Fest. We raised a lot of money for local animal shelters. It's one of my favorite gigs of the year. Get to raise money for the fur babies. So I love that. And then we cap it off with a Lions victory. We wake up on Victory Monday, sole possession of first place in the NFC North. We take a look at these schedules of these other teams. We looked at those 3 for the Lions. We know it's Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks. That's a tough row to hoe. Here's what the other 3 teams have in our division. The Vikings get Pittsburgh and Cleveland and then a bye. And then they got to come out of that bye and play the world champs. So definitely, I believe Carson Wentz is good enough to beat both of these teams, but they're both on the road. So it's possible they lose those. It's not looking real good for the Vikings in that respect. We take a look at the Bears now, coming off a big, big victory against the Raiders. They've won 2 in a row. Ben Johnson's got them buying in, I think, early. Did you watch the post-game celebration and his speech to the team after the Dallas game last week? It was inspiring, and you really could see that the team that was standing there really liked him. And I think that was the kind of win that can change the trajectory of your season. And they showed it again last week, or yesterday, I should say, by taking out the Raiders and going to 2-2. They get the bye this week. They come back out and get Washington and the Saints. Now, the Washington is going to be super exciting on Monday Night Football. The replay of the Hail Mary game. These schedulers, man, they know what they're doing. Monday Night Football, replay it. So this way they get to show you that play 50 times before the game. Jane Daniels winning the game on a Hail Mary. And they get the Saints. That's a W, okay? I know the W is right here for Washington, but that's a W on your schedule. The Saints look bad. If the Bears don't beat the Saints, in Chicago no less, I will be very disappointed in Ben Johnson and the Bears. And then it gets tough. They get, Baltimore, but we're only looking at these 3 weeks right now. So Minnesota, we saw in the next 3 weeks, could have 2 more in the loss column. Looking here at the Bears in the next 3 weeks, they could have at least 1 more in the loss column. I don't see them losing to the Saints. And then if we go over to the evil empire, the Cheese Kings, we see that they have their bye this week, an early bye, and they come out and play Cincinnati, and then they go to Arizona. I think both of those are winnable games. So as the Lions get to their bye week on week 8, we could be looking at a tie with the Packers if we win 2 out of 3. And that's doable, even though it is the Chiefs and the Bucks and the Bengals. This team, I believe, can win 2 of those games. So everyone's looking up at us now. Green Bay is going to get that bye week. That's going to give an extra week for Micah Parsons and Jeff Hafley to be together. They're going to get better. That's going to get some heal-up time for some of the first nicks and bruises the Packers have experienced so far. And as the Lions go into their bye week on week 8, that would be Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll be rooting for Aaron Rodgers against the Packers on our bye week. Poetry, folks. Poetry. 3-1. Lions, first place. Feels good. Let's enjoy it now, because in this league, anything could happen. Thanks, everybody, for watching with me tonight. Got nobody commenting. That's okay. If you're watching on the rebroadcast, put your comment in, put a question in, start a conversation. I love to keep it going later on in the Facebook feed. We are broadcasting live to Facebook on our own page. It's called The Main Event. If you are not watching it in this spot, please do. And please give our page a follow. We appreciate you all very much. We had a problem today, but normally we're broadcasting on the 360 Radio Network at 360radionetwork.com. For some reason, it didn't work today. So I apologize to any 360 Radio Network viewers that might be watching today. Big thanks to the Huddle Sports Network for letting us broadcast on their platform, and to Smokey Jeremy B at Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. Thank you all for watching. God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you next week. Hopefully it's another Victory Monday on Pride.
Yeah, yo, it's game time. Ain't no messing around. Huddle Sports Network, the best in town. From NFL rumors to the latest trends, we got all your sports. Just tune in, my friends.